Welcome to Seven Figure Chiro, the podcast that is all about taking your chiropractic practice to new financial heights. We're your hosts, Dr. Jeff and Kristin Berard.
And twice a month, we are here to share the insider strategies, tools, and success stories that will help you scale your chiropractic practice to seven figures and beyond.
Whether you're at the start of your journey as an associate or you're ready to take your practice to the next level, we've got expert interviews, strategies, and inspiring stories from chiropractors who have turned their dreams into a reality.
So get ready to take your chiropractic practice to a new level, and let's crush your vision for success.
Welcome to Seven Figure Chiro Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff Berard, and I'm here with my wife, Kristin. Hello, Kristin.
Hi.
So Seven Figure Chiro Podcast, we developed this podcast to share a lot of experience that we've had over the last 23, 24 years. I strongly believe that all chiros should be able to achieve seven figures. And there's a common denominator why many or most do not. So we're here to kind of walk you through the journey, what it takes to become a seven-figure chiro, common mistakes, pitfalls, things to avoid, maybe some things to think about that the common chiro doesn't think about, which is required to become a seven-figure chiro. So I'd like to start off with just a little journey on where we are now, and then we'll talk about where we came from so we can relate to most listeners. 23 or 24 years, Kristin? I don't know. How long have
Since 2001.
All right, since 2001. So 24 years just about. I went to Northwestern Health Sciences University. I had a strong interest in the chiropractic sports world. I really didn't know a ton about, I didn't know anything about the business. I just knew there were some leaders in our industry that I wanted to emulate, and all I really was focused on, it was their technical aspect. And so I did everything I could to obtain all the technical knowledge that those that I wanted to emulate. I basically did exactly what they did and became this technically sound chiro. And I bought a business straight out of school. I wasn't an associate for anyone. I didn't work for anyone. I bought I bought a practice right out of school. The only clinical experience I had was my internship and externship in school, which we know what that brings, those of us that are chiros. So there wasn't a whole lot of experience. So I bought this practice. It was a subluxation-based practice. This guy was he was a strong philosophical chiropractor, which I was not. I was so enamored with the technical aspect. The philosophy at our school was minimal. So I bought this practice, started treating patients, adjusting, having no clue what I was doing business-wise, didn't know where I wanted to be, didn't know where I wanted to go. After several months, couple years, it just became an absolute grind. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't having fun. I was just kind of holding on by the seat of my pants. All the intricacies of running a business, I was clueless about. The accounting, the managing employees, structuring, the right pay scale to stay solvent. All those nuances of running a business were just foreign to me. So I just stuck with what I knew, and that was the technical aspect. And I just kept honing in on that, which was great technically, but, business-wise and for a level of solvency, it did absolutely nothing. And the reason why I'm saying that is, there's a lot of chiros out there that are just so focused on their technical aspect, but that can't get you anywhere if you don't have those other tools to help propagate your business and get it to where you want it to be. So after, 5, 6, 7 years, I realized I was seeing plenty of patients, but the bottom line just wasn't there. I wasn't making any money. I was living not even paycheck to paycheck. I wasn't even paying myself. I was kind of living off the cash that my practice brought in, and I was renting cheap apartments. I wasn't living this extravagant lifestyle that most of us want. My friends and colleagues that weren't in the industry, they were in the technical, whether they went into business or the technical field of plumbing, electrician, they were so far ahead of me. financially and professionally, it was really frustrating. So I knew I had to make a change, but wasn't quite sure what that change was. So all I knew was, okay, well, let me open another practice. Let me put another log on the fire. I just felt like I had to see more people to make more money, and I did that and quickly learned that that wasn't the solution. It just compounded the problem. Yeah, we were bringing in more patients and making more money, but same issue. We didn't have the infrastructure, and it was just more of the same. And I really was contemplating getting out of the profession. I just was so frustrated. I wasn't getting anywhere. I was such a sound technical chiropractor. Patients loved the service, and I was seeing plenty of patients. But again, it just wasn't the vision that I had for myself, or that I thought I had for myself. I started to, desperate people do desperate things. So I started to get into being in Florida, kind of out of default, the personal injury world, because it just seemed like those chiros that were doing personal injury were just making a ton of money. And like I said, I was kind of desperate to reach a level of insolvency, start to hack away debt, take care of some things so I can kind of have some liberties. So I got into the personal injury world in Florida, and yes, we started making a lot more money and developing a level of solvency. This is where Kristin came in. When I met Kristin after however many months or a year or two it was, I don't know, it really doesn't matter. She brought in a aspect of organization and implementation and procedures and policies and whatnot that kind of organized our business to help us establish an infrastructure so that we can accumulate and build a proper business. So we had developed out of just organically, and maybe it was dumb luck, maybe it was my skill in choosing a partner in life, I don't know. But we developed a nice infrastructure where we started to see some light at the end of the tunnel. However, that tunnel was so long. Kristin's from Michigan, I was residing in Florida. We decided to, we have a couple practices that are doing some nice revenue, not highly profitable, but doing some nice revenue. So let's see what we can do and liquidate and sell the businesses. And we were fortunate enough where we did that, and that was able to basically eradicate, the financial burden that had accumulated over the course of 6 or 7 years. So we were lucky enough to find buyers, sold out. We moved to Michigan. We bought a plot of land, a small, 0.8 acre plot of land in a small community in Midland, Michigan. We did some creative financing. We built a building, a 6,000 square foot building, and we literally started from scratch. So here we are today, 10, 11 years later. We have a team of over 30 team members. We sit in the top 5% of all practices in the nation when it comes to revenue. We've developed a very strong infrastructure to cultivate, progress, financial success, making sure that our team members have a vision for themselves, and it's up to us as team leaders to make sure that their vision comes to fruition. So we are here to share with you that journey, and I've made every mistake there is to make, and fortunately I've learned from them, and that's what experience means, right? You make mistakes, you learn from them, and then you improve each time. And I think it's worth sharing that to other chiropractors that have a strong ambition to reach a level of success that maybe they haven't obtained, or maybe they don't feel they have the ability to obtain, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. So that's what this podcast is about. We will talk a lot about, yes, $1 million practice. That means money, a high level of solvency, a high level of profitability, liberties, having the finances and the financial freedom to do the things you want. But unfortunately, one of the things, a primary topic that needs to be discussed is the chiropractor. Do you want to eat, or are you really hungry? And what I mean by that, those that want to eat just go in their pantry, get whatever's there, and they eat. Those that are hungry go out and really forage and make it happen. So we need to talk about what a vision looks like for you in high clarity, high detail. We call that the art of illumination. We need to develop a vision that you can see. If you see it, you can believe it. If you don't have a vision, how are you going to go to where you don't know where you're going? So you have to have a clear vision. And then we have to change the way you think. What I mean by that is thought and action equals outcome. So if you keep thinking about, having the same thought process that got you to where you are today, and you're not where you want to be, well, obviously we need to change your thought process, and your actions will follow. So having a clear vision, having clarity of purpose, sharing with you these principles that are essential to establish in order to have $1 million practice. That's essential. And that's going to be the cornerstone of the podcast, is developing that first. Once we articulate that vision and what that looks like and the thought principles to incorporate into that vision, then we'll get into the aspects of actual practices and things to navigate. One of those big things that we'll talk about is, these gadgets and all these fancy things that chiros are notorious for buying that promise the world of bringing in all these patients and developing all this revenue, which none of it does. Absolutely none of it. It's all about you and your vision and your purpose and your relentless strive to reach those things, being able to lock on and lock out anything and everything that is in your path to reach your goal. We'll also discuss in detail some different models out there, different financial streams that are not very common in the chiropractic industry, but are very strong financial producers that can set you aside from your competitors. What are those different strategies? What do they look like? How to develop a strong financial future, a forecast, how to save money, how to have a pay scale for your team members so that you can continue to reach a level of profitability and still provide outstanding service to your clients. How to develop a team that's all on the same page, develop a competitive team, have core values. Imagine having all your team members in your office are so flippin' driven to reach the same goal that you have, and they have this relentless attitude to reach that goal. Doesn't that sound amazing? So that's very possible. It just takes some structure on how to do that. How to organize your team to keep them motivated, keep them goal driven, establish these core values in this culture in your office where people want to come to work and just be high producers. These are some core topics that maybe aren't super sexy in our industry. Everyone wants to talk about, okay, give me what services do you offer? How much do you charge? Okay, great, I'm going to implement that. Well, sorry, you're going to flop, because that is the least important aspect. The most important aspect is that infrastructure that needs to be established in order for you to build on that. So the reason why Kristin is on this podcast is because she's what we call an integrator, right? And this is another big topic that we'll discuss in future episodes is, develop a team that their strengths can help propel your business. I have all these amazing ideas. All day I'm consumed with ideas on how I can propagate my business. But if I didn't have someone like Kristin, an integrator, they would go nowhere. I would just sit there and dream, and that's what I do. But fortunately, I have someone on the team who has the ability to take those ideas, those innovations, those dreams, analyze them, determine if they make sense, determine if it's in line with our core values, our service, what we call our hedgehog concept, which we'll talk about at another time, and put them to fruition. So how to develop not just a team, but a team that actually has the right ability to integrate the things that you need integrated. Nice people, great people don't necessarily make good team members. They have to be very proficient at the tasks that you would expect them to do. So this is a whole nother art and science of having to develop that team. All too often, I see a lot of these chiropractors. Kristin and I talk to chiropractors all over the nation. We sell a business model which puts us into contact with clinics all over the nation. And we see a common denominator with all of them is they're all great technical sound chiropractors, but very commonly their team is not, it might be the nicest people and very strong, communicators and all these attributes that we would expect them to have, but they don't have the ability to do what's needed to be done at a high level. And this kind of, stymies these chiropractors from reaching the levels that they want to reach. So we'll talk in detail about that and what that looks like. There is no reason why. I think most chiropractors, I think 300,000 K a year or something like that in revenue, which I think is just atrocious when you can consider how many people we can help and what we can do for them. There's no reason why you shouldn't be making that every month. That's a very realistic goal as long as you build that lattice the correct way and that foundation to build on. So that's the cornerstone of Seven Figure Chiro Podcast, where I'm not going to sit here and we're not just going to talk about, these are the services you need to offer. This is what you charge. Get rolling. That's going to be in here, but man, we need to just pound the infrastructure, the mindset, the vision with clarity. Have you really understand what that looks like? And once you have that passion and you see it with a high level of clarity in HD, that passion always will be coupled with stamina. Now you have the stamina to push that rock relentlessly until you reach those goals you have. So there's only 3 reasons why people don't reach their goals and their visions. They're lazy, they're stupid, and they're afraid. So obviously stupid, there's nothing we can do about that. That's just an unfortunate reality. And well, you're kind of stuck. But, lazy and afraid are pretty common. I think we're all guilty of that to some degree. And we'll talk about how to navigate some of those things. So I look forward to having further discussion. And our future podcasts will have structure. We'll list what the topics of the podcast are, so you can go back and reference it, because ultimately, I'm not trying to step on any consultant's toes, but this podcast basically is going to walk you through every single aspect that you need in order to achieve a 7-figure practice. So perhaps you can look at it as a virtual consultant. That's not my intention. I'm not saying I'm a consultant. I don't want to be a consultant, but I sure do want to share with you everything and anything I know to help you reach a level of success. And if there's any topics you would like to discuss, any topics you would like to have aired on the podcast, please reach out and we'll be happy to have that a topic of discussion. I look forward to this journey. We're not sure where it's going as far as, listeners or the type of content that this may develop into, because we're going to listen to our listeners and what they need and what they want and adapt accordingly. So Kristin, I'll let you chat a little bit about your thoughts on the 7-Figure Chiro podcast, and let's go from there.
Yeah, and I can't wait to get started. I think that we can end our intro with, just letting everybody know, keep coming back and listening to the new topics and sending us your requests for things to talk about. We've been through so many different journeys, and we've really found this right path to not only grow personally, but grow professionally as well. And we want nothing more than to see so many of you out there doing the same thing. So being able to find that right team and the right help that you need, since you cannot do everything yourself, which is something that I think every business owner and every doctor needs to understand. So we'll kind of close today with letting you know that we're going to put out an episode at least twice a month. And we look forward to this journey and talking about everything that we've done along the way. And we can't wait to hear about everybody else's growth. So we'll talk to you all soon.
Yeah, until next time, keep up the good fight.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of 7-Figure Chiro.
We hope you're walking away with some valuable insights to apply to your practice.
Remember, building a 7-figure practice doesn't happen overnight, but with the right strategies and mindset, it's absolutely within your reach.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow chiropractors who are on the same path.
And be sure to join us the next episode for more strategies, bring clarity to your vision, and elevate your financial practice to success.
Until then, keep pushing forward and making an impact.